When you think back to light gun games from the mid-90s, the mainstays come to mind. Virtua Cop, Time Crisis, House of the Dead, Point Blank, the list goes on. While Sega and Namco had the genre down pat, Konami wasn't shy about dabbling into shooting dudes. They had early success in the arcades with Lethal Enforcers, but when it came time for them to jump into the third dimension, they brought the world Crypt Killer. Released by Konami in 1995, Crypt Killer is a light gun arcade shooter where up to 3 friends can shoot up hordes of monstrous creatures as they search for a legendary treasure. I distinctly remember seeing this large booth-style cabinet at a local arcade and being completely mesmerized by it. There were 3 pump shotgun controllers and they felt really cool to use. Another thing that stood out to me in particular was that, well, no one ever played it. I rarely if ever saw anyone at this cabinet, which is a shame, but compared to what else was out at the time, I guess I can't really blame them. Crypt Killer was eventually brought to consoles in 1997 for the PlayStation and, of course, the Sega Saturn. For this video, I'll be playing the Japanese version, which is strangely titled Henry Explorers for some weird reason. But for everyone else's sake, I'm just going to be calling it Crypt Killer. As you boot up the game, you've got your main game and your options. Taking a gander at the options, you got a good amount of stuff to mess around with. There's a plethora of difficulty settings, you can change the amount of health it continues, and enable some nice gameplay enhancements like an auto reload feature. These can really come in handy if you're playing with a standard controller over the Saturn light gun. Starting your adventure, you're given a very welcome sight, a stage select with 6 different levels. Once you've chosen your stage, you come across Galazon, the spirit of travels. He guides you through your journey, which is to find the 2 Eyes of Guidance. You're then thrown into your first stage, and I can handle some dated visuals, but these are really rough on the eyes. The texture resolution on the environment is abysmal, especially in this first stage. Fortunately, this does not have any effect on gameplay. In fact, performance is pretty smooth. I suppose if they try to make the resolution any higher, your Saturn might actually explode. Who knows? What I do know is that the Saturn is capable of a lot more than this. And compared to the PlayStation version, the differences graphically are night and day. There's a video by Gaming Palooza Empire on YouTube that compares both versions side by side, and I highly recommend you go check it out. If you can avert your eyes away from the screen, then back toward the screen because you got a game to play, you can see what this game has to offer. As you move through these narrow corridor shooting galleries, you'll fight against a wide variety of menacing monsters, ranging from skeletons, mermen, zombies, and so on. To take them on, you've got your trusty shotgun, but you can also find a variety of fun weaponry dropped by killed creatures. Stuff like grenade launchers, semi-auto rifles, Gatling guns, and more. Even with your shotgun, enemies go down pretty easily, but don't let that distract you. This game can be insanely difficult, especially on the normal difficulty. I'd recommend you tone it down a few notches on your first playthrough. The levels take you to a number of different locales, such as forests, caves, ruins, and the like. Talking about the level design itself is kinda weird because you're mostly just going down narrow hallways, but things do change up here and there. There's chasms that your character will stumble upon, large pits to fall down, fast rushing water rapids to swim through, and massive spiraling staircases, just to name a few. Each stage has 3 acts. At the end of each act, you're given 2 split paths to choose from. It's a nice way to add some longevity to the game, encouraging multiple playthroughs. The endgame state, though, is kinda weird. The game does have multiple endings, and you can reach them after playing just 2 levels. Your main quest to find the Eyes of Guidance will lead you down multiple paths, and whichever ones you take will either lead you to a blue eye or a red eye. Depending on which eyes you get and the order you get them in will change your ending. I assume there's a set path that leads you to a specific eye that you want, but there's no way of knowing that up front on your first playthrough. It's not much to get annoyed with, though. After the ending plays, it just puts you back to the level select as if nothing happened, and you can continue playing through the rest of the game. It's a pretty strange setup, but whatever. I would try to mention the boss battles, but they're just really underwhelming. You just dump bullets into them like there's no tomorrow. No tells, no phases, no interesting mechanics, just shoot them until they're dead. I do have some other complaints though. Even though this is a light gun game that I'm playing with a controller, the screen still flashes regardless if I have a light gun or not when I shoot. It's super annoying and nauseating, especially during those bullet dumping boss battles. The screen just keeps on flashing. Also, some of the music in this game is just fucking terrible. It's so degrading on the ears. Whoever composed this song in particular should have their music license stripped away or something. Good lord. Crypt Killer isn't a bad game by any means. I actually enjoy it quite a bit, but it's a game that has shown its age so hard to the point that I don't think it'll be most people's cup of tea, especially if you can't stomach the Saturn version's messy visuals. But for those who want an entertaining light gun romp, I think it's worth checking out. Unfortunately, American copies have skyrocketed in price to $100 plus for a complete version. The Japanese and European version are a bit more feasible, with prices ranging from $30 to $50. If you're willing to pony up that much though, then more power to you, I guess.